thank you so much for being here again. It's really exciting to see some new faces as well. We're doing something a little bit different tonight, as you can see. We have a crime panel, and I'm not asking the questions. I get a night off. Wait a minute, I'm up here. No, I don't. So I'm going to just do a quick thank you to the fabulous team here at So Vote Synergy, as always. I am now going to hand over to our fabulous panel because M.A. Hunter is going to be our moderator.
Hello all. Don't look so scared. We need some energy in the room. So I've got a shed load of questions that I'm going to throw at these wonderful panelists, wonderful authors. But we want this to be engaging, right? So if you've got a burning question, really please just put your hand up, try and make eye contact with one of us, and we'll let you ask it. You know, I don't like the sound of my own voice, and by the end of this you won't like the sound of my voice either. So please do interrupt and ask anything you like. Out of curiosity, how many in the room are writers? Most? How many are published or looking to be published? Well, the good news is, these people, they know the secrets, right? They know how to do it because they've done it. They've all done it, which is brilliant. So, you know, if you want to know the secret to writing and publishing, you just got to ask them, okay? Just don't be shy. You all right? You good to go? Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to ask each of our authors to pitch one of their books to you in under 50 words. And this is... I don't remember this. 50 words. If they go over, then you don't have to buy it. But if they don't, then you do. Okay? So they're going to really sell to you why you should buy a copy of their book. We've got loads of books, so if anybody just wants to buy them at the end, you can. So, should we start with Alex? She's the professional when it comes to this.
I just missed this memo.
50 words, I'm counting.
So The Quiet Sister is my latest one. It's set not far away in Boston, along the pier and Honeycomb Beach apartments there. It's a psychological thriller about twin sisters and what you would do to get the life they live. Did I do it? Did anybody count? Okay, my watch is telling me I have an abnormal heart rate. The pressure!
Okay, thank you, Alex. Andreina, do you want to go next?
Hi, I don't know, do I need this? Yes. Okay. Okay, so Murder at the Christmas Emporium is about a collection of 7 ghastly people with secrets who are trapped in a beautiful but slightly sinister old-fashioned shop in the middle of London on Christmas Eve, and someone they find a nasty surprise, i.e. a dead body, in Santa's grotto, and then they start realising that actually there's a connection between all of them that they didn't realise, and someone was out for revenge. So a bit Christmassy this time of the year. Sorry.
But you could buy it and
You can
give it
still
as a
buy
Christmas
it.
present.
It makes
to
great
someone.
sun lounger read.
Okay, thank you. Tiffany, please.
Hi. So my book is called The Heart Snatcher. It's about a serial killer who takes out people's hearts. That's what it says on the tin. And my main character is Detective Ethan Brown, and he teams up with a civilian who is his love interest, kind of stroke crime-solving partner to solve the crimes. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I hope that you're going to answer your own question.
Yeah.
I am, absolutely. Yeah. And I've got loads of books here, so you know, if the one I pitched to you doesn't take your fancy, come read the back of the others. So I'm going to talk about my latest book, which is called The Woman on Platform 8, which is a standalone psychological thriller. It starts with 2 women who catch the same train from Southampton to London Waterloo every day, never speaking, until one day when one of them asks the other for help because she thinks she's just killed her boyfriend. It features my first openly autistic character. And out of curiosity, is there anybody neurodivergent in the room?
I'm related. Everybody I'm related to is neurodivergent.
Excellent. And I think most writers probably are.
Yeah.
But there we go. So it's got an openly autistic character, so we get to see the world through an autistic lady's eyes.
Intriguing.
Yes, loads of copies of that. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll start. We're going to try and make this as conversational as possible. So if the author panelists have questions for each other, then they're welcome to jump in and ask questions as well. I'm going to start with Alex. So The Quiet Sister focuses on a tumultuous relationship between sisters. What inspired this choice, and how did you find that dynamic between the sisters? Do you have a sister?
No.
So that's even more intriguing.
Not anymore.
I never had a sister, just going to clarify. But actually the book wasn't originally about sisters, it was about friends. But as I wrote it, it kind of just, that relationship unfolded. And you know when your characters, sometimes they're telling you something that you haven't realised yourself. And so yeah, they told me they were sisters, and not just sisters, they were identical twins, so that way she was still her identity. And it unfolds this whole level of what's it like to experience life with somebody else who looks exactly like you but is so completely different, and have such a completely different outlook, different experiences in the same settings, and it was just really fun to investigate.
I can imagine you sat in a room talking to the mirror, practicing to get the dialogue right. Is that?
I don't hit the mirror, I just talk to myself anyway.
Okay, good. All right. Tiffany, The Heart Snatcher, you said is #1 in the DS Ethan Brown series. How many books do you currently have planned, plotted? How far is this series going to go?
So yeah, this is the first book. The second book is going to be out at the end of this year, and then the third book beginning of next year. So I've got those two that are in the works at the moment, but the whole series I've got planned about 7-8 books in total, and I've got sort of rough plans for each of those books and how everything will progress. So it's going to be one hell of a ride.
Excellent. Okay, sounds good. Andreina, now before writing your first novel, I read that you were a senior editor and writer for women's magazines including Good Housekeeping and Cosmopolitan. Has that been a help or a hindrance to your writing novels?
That is a good question, because initially I went into magazines because authors were these perfect distant creatures, and I thought I didn't have the life experience, and so I sort of went into journalism, and I went into magazines, then got a bit carried away. And the hindrance part was that when you spend all day chiseling away at other people's words or writing your own to a very tight deadline and a very exacting house style, you end up kind of not really wanting to see a single other word when you come home unless you're reading a book. So I put it off for a long time. It made me really precious about writing, and it was a real block on me writing. But on the other hand, my first book, The Girl Who, was based on conversations at work and experiences I went through. So one of my first jobs was working for a women's weekly called That's Life, which is very similar to Take a Break. It's weekly stories, it's love rats and holiday romances and seriously bad crime, awful crime things happen to people, and it gave me a really good idea about how different characters responded to things, and how if you or I become a victim of crime, we will react one way, but the person next to you will react completely differently. And it sort of just really made me very interested in what motivates people to do bad stuff and how people get into bad situations. And I also saw a side of life that a little sheltered, upper working class self would never experience, and some real sort of suffering and some awful torment that people went through. And it was a real wake up call for how lucky I was as well. So yeah, blessing and curse.
I like you described it as upper working class rather than middle class. You're kind of like, yeah, I'm just.
You know what? I don't know what class I am. There's so much, like, it wasn't important for a long time, and now suddenly we all. And I feel like I can't say that I'm working class, but I also don't feel like I'm middle class.
Do you shop in Waitrose?
Well, I live on Ashley Road, and sometimes I do pop in there for a minute.
Middle class. There you go.
I eat sushi, you know, all of that jazz. So yeah, probably middle class.
Out of curiosity, anybody else shop in Waitrose? M&S? That's where the line is, right? If you're Aldi, you're still, you know.
Oh, the weekly shop is Lidl, if that counts.
Fair. All right, I have a question for all our authors. So they always say that the best authors are also voracious readers. So kind of how much do you read? Are you big readers? What do you read?
Okay. So I don't read as much as I used to, mostly because I'm too busy with events. Can't imagine why. So I am desperately trying to read a book before the weekend because I'm in another interview with another game writer. So that's going to be fun. But when I'm writing psychological thrillers, I don't read the same genre, so that it doesn't seep in, which means I get a very small window between books to actually read the genre that I love the most. So that's quite hard.
Yeah, I will read absolutely anything and everything. There's no genre left unmolested. And I agree with you about not reading your genre while you're drafting. I mean, I do still read crime while I'm writing crime, but when I was writing Murder at the Christmas Emporium and the 12 Days of Murder, which was the one that came before it, they were both closed circle mysteries where it was, you know, people trapped in one place. And everyone kept going, oh, like Lucy Foley's The Hunting Party, and I was like, I got it out of the library and then I just couldn't bring myself to read it because it just would have, if she's obviously done it really well, apparently I still haven't read it. And everyone's going on about how amazing it was, and I was just I just didn't want to start comparing myself, so I had to just take it back.
Tiffany?
So I'm actually the opposite to you two. I love to read the genre that I'm writing currently. I actually find it really helpful to like give me a sort of guideline. Because when I read other people's work, I kind of can spot, okay, I wouldn't have done it like that, or I wouldn't have made that person the killer, I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that plot twist. Or I kind of take inspiration and I kind of go, oh, actually that worked really well in that book, so I'm going to do something similar. So I actually read a lot of crime fiction, a lot of detective crime. My favourite author is Daniel Cole. He does the Ragdoll series. And yeah, I love anything crime fiction, so and thrillers.
Okay. And I'm a really slow reader. I think I actually write books quicker than I read them. But I have a very busy life, so I have a day job as well as writing. And a young family, and you know, every streaming service there is under the sun, and there's just too much good stuff to watch. So
Can I also add, you write a ridiculous amount of books in a year?
I do 2 to 3 books a year.
Wow.
So yeah.
Sorry, how do you do all of that, have a full-time job and have children and have Netflix and still come up with 3 books a year?
So I was explaining this to, is it Gary? Gary. I'm rubbish with names, so forgive me. I'm neurodivergent, I'm autistic and ADHD, and I think that's been a real blessing for me. So when I plot every book that I kind of write, and when I'm doing my plotting, you know, I might be in the bath, I might be walking the dogs, could be anywhere. I'm seeing it all in my head on a big screen. You know, I can see the main actor, the actress interacting in the televised adaptation, television adaptation. And I will then scribble a couple of bullet points on each of those kind of scenes that happen until I've got to the end of the book. And then when I sit down to write, it's just a case of looking back at those bullet points and going, oh yeah, I can remember what that scene is. And then I sit down to write, and there it is on the screen in my head again. And all I'm doing is describing what they're doing. Like, there's no control over it. And I think the autism means I write every day between 5 and 7 before my day job starts. And I have that discipline to do it, and the ADHD is that imagination side. So yeah, I write 2,000 words in just over an hour most days. So 10,000 words a week, 9 weeks you have a workable first draft of the book.
A deadline doesn't stress you out?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I kind of have a head start anyway, so I've got a new book coming out in July. I've already completed the book that's out in November, and I've just started plotting the book that will be out in, I don't know, March or April next year. So yeah, no, I don't get stressed. And I enjoy it, that's the thing, right? So for me, you know, I can remember being a kid, and when I would read again, I would have that kind of visual in my head as to what was happening, and I get the same experience when I write. So, you know, I get this golden kind of 2 hours I have every day when the kids are still asleep, the dogs aren't disturbing me, and I can just write, and it's my time, and it's that same experience as reading. So I think that's probably why I don't read as much unless I go on holiday somewhere and I don't have Netflix where I am. So. And you know what's also a really useful tip for those that are writing and you're going to have to start doing self-assessments and tax? Streaming services are tax-deductible allowances.
No!
Yeah, my accountant told me. So your Netflix, your Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, you name it, it's deductible.
Plus every book you buy and
Yep.
Audible subscription if you've got Audible subscription.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Even things like phones, because you need it for work, for your social media. So I spent like £1,100 on this phone a couple of months ago. That's coming off my tax next year. Good. There's no, none of you work for HMRC out of curiosity. No? Right, scupper it. Yeah, there's lots of things you can pay. And you
Just
write
making a
books
quick
as well.
call here.
So it's good. Okay, let's go on. Oh, out of curiosity, are we all crime readers? Yeah, does anybody read other?
I read everything.
Everything. Where'd you find your time?
I'm a time traveller as well.
Excellent, there we go, problem solved. Do you know what, interesting, sorry, I will come back to the question. My son is 9 years old and we suspect he may also be autistic. If you met him, you'd understand why. And he told me the other day that he has figured out time travel. 9 years old, he's in year 5 at school, and he's like, Dad, I figured out time travel. I'm like, great, let's go. And he said, no, it's not that easy. He said, there's a few steps that I need to undertake first. He said, first of all, I need to understand quantum physics. And I was like, well, yeah, you know, that's an overnight thing, right? That's quite easy. Then he needs to get a job with NASA. Again, yeah, walk in the park, that's fine. And then once he's got a job for NASA, he needs to go into space and destroy Mars. Planet Mars, yeah, he's got to figure out how to destroy that. And then he's got to figure out how to harness the energy from that destruction. And there you go, that's time travel.
Very intelligent.
He's very
9. Like, what? Yes.
I don't know whether to be impressed or afraid.
I mean, if there's no life on Mars, he's not killing anyone, so I think at this stage I'm less afraid. You know, if he starts talking about stabbing
I think
people
there's some
and...
gravitational pull stuff happening. But
Yeah, all the planets go out of alignment and fall into the sun. Minor setback maybe.
So when that happens, you know who to blame, right?
I mean, if that's the only flaw in the argument, then he's golden.
Right, sorry. Anyway, let's get back to where were we? Oh, yes, right, so Tiffany, Heart Snatchers, your first book.
yeah.
What advice would you give to any new writers or writers that are just starting out?
So, any advice to any new writers or anyone that's thinking about writing a book, I would say just go for it, just do it. Because I spent so many years delaying doing this book. I think I've had the storyline in my head for the last 10 years. And I just kept putting it off, saying, no, I have that time, or it's not ready yet, and it just took me so long to do it. So I would just say to anyone that's thinking about writing, just go for it. Just get that book written, and then try and get it published.
That's an interesting answer. I would have said, no, don't do it. Don't. It's a painful process, it's antisocial, full of rejection, don't put yourselves through it.
It's painful but fun. We enjoy the pain as writers.
Yeah, we're weird.
Any other tips from my other authors, for newbie writers?
I think if you're here, you're already doing one thing right. Because for years and years, I thought that what I had to do if I was writing a book was, you know, do it secretly in my room and then come out and go, da-da, look, here's this perfect thing. And then everyone would go, my God, that's amazing. And actually, that isn't how writing works. And like, the more you talk to people about writing, and the more you take yourself seriously and publicly say you're a writer, the more feedback you get, the more you think about writing, the more you learn about writing, and then it makes you a better writer. So being here is a good start.
Definitely, I would add to that finding your tribe, which is whether it's this or something else. For me, I found it with the Romantic Novelists Association when I started. I know I don't write romance anymore. We'll digress past that. But that's where I started, and finding that group of people that thought like me and got me and made up characters as fun. That was, I'm an accountant, so that was like, wow, I'm not crazy. There's people just like me, or if I am crazy, so are they. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I set up Author Events, because I moved down here, I left my network, my tribe behind in Coventry. I didn't have anybody to connect with, and when I was kind of going through a tough time with family, I was very isolated. So having that support, whether you're talking about your plot issues, or you're just talking about writing, or you're just grabbing a cup of coffee and having a laugh, I think it's key.
They're also really good cheerleaders as well.
Exactly.
Like you all encourage each other. So I've got like a little writing group, and we all give each other encouragement. And I think just having those cheerleaders on your sideline is really powerful. Yeah.
We all need it.
So I do have a follow-up question, because you did used to write romance.
I did.
And now you write crime.
Yes.
My first question is, which is better? And the second is, well, no, I'll come to the second. Which is better? For you, as a writer, which do you prefer to write?
The psychological suspense. Mostly because I love the jigsaw puzzle of it all, and the twists, and this is going to make me sound so scary, but I love thinking of what I can put my characters through. It's a lot of fun. My boyfriend is slightly perturbed when he reads some of my books, because it usually is the romantic partner that does not fare well.
Yeah, when I first started, my wife used to read my books. She doesn't anymore. Some of the stuff. Yeah, she was quite terrified by it. So would you ever go back to romance? Or would you ever strike out on any other genre?
I would love to. My ideal would be, I write 2 books a year, in theory, but I struggle to do that because there's so much kind of deep emotional research. There's the police elements, there's the mental health elements that I put into mine, so it's quite draining to do 2 a year. So I would love to have that alternating balance of one lighter romance and one psychological thriller. And I do still have my old romances that were never published, that if Baldwin don't want them, I will make a self-publish.
But Baldwin do have a romantic
They do.
arm, so
They do.
why not?
Yeah, I will see if Emily will take them on.
Do it.
I'm sure she will.
Okay, Andreina, you now have 2 Christmas set thrillers.
Yep.
How does that affect sales? This is a personal question, it's not for you really. I'm curious to know. Like, do you find a lull in sales in the summer and then it picks up massively at Christmas time, or not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not even in bookshops at the moment. It's actually weirdly quite nice, because I know that it's going away in January. I don't have to be anxious about it. It also means that I don't have to do social media all the time, and I can just get on with writing the next one. But what it does mean is, generally as an author, as a trad-published author, you get 2 royalty payments a year. One of those royalty payments is a little bit disappointing. The other one's fine. The other one's very nice and encouraging. But yeah, it's obviously people will buy the books and they'll give them for Christmas, and then I'll get these random messages in the middle of summer saying I finally got around to reading it on my summer holiday, which is great. But mostly I get like a flurry of contact from readers and like in the lead up to Christmas and in January. Then it goes super quiet, and you do start to get a bit of imposter syndrome, but it also means that you can, like, I find the public facing stuff, I have a really mixed relationship with it, where I absolutely love it, but at the same time it's sort of, I think it drains my social battery a bit, so it's quite nice to have that chance to recharge.
Fair. And so is this the theme then? It's going to be Christmas thrillers, not forever necessarily, but for next year?
Well, I've got another one coming up, which is basically Scrooge Solves Crime, which is coming out in October. So if you like the idea of Scrooge solving crime, then this, it's a little bit, you know, it's still dark, but probably a little bit cosier because Scrooge is a little bit cosier, I guess. But that was lots of fun to write. So I have been able to switch. If they'd asked me to do another one where it's people trapped in a building together, I might have said no because I was getting claustrophobic after writing 2 books, 2 locked door, closed room mysteries were ghost circle mysteries were just too much. So by the end of that, I wanted to wander around Victorian London, so that's what I'm doing. And the next one might be another Scrooge as well, so depending on how it does.
And so did your Scrooge get visited by ghosts of Christmas past, present and future?
So,
Or is that
yes.
a spoiler? I don't want to.
No, well, the thing is that it's set a year after his miraculous transformation. So basically, because I always thought when you see it on the last page or at the end of the film, and he's like happy and he's running down the street saying, "I'm going to be a good guy now," and you think, yeah, it's not actually that easy, is it? What you're going to do? You're going to give all your money away? Are you going to start lighting a fire in your house because you're not a miser anymore? Or are you going to keep all the money and give it all to the poor? It's just complicated, and so it was asking that sort of question that made me start thinking about what it would be like a year later, where it's his first Christmas since his transformation, and he's trying to prove to the spirits that he's a really good man now. Please don't come back. And so that's the jump off point, and then he finds the body, and then a ghost pops up. So there are ghosts in it. If you don't like ghosts, it's not the story for you.
You sold it to me. I
I'll
love
read
that.
it.
Okay, so Alex has already said that she was an accountant before she was a writer, and now she's an event planner as well as a writer.
And still an accountant.
For Tiffany and Andreina, if you weren't writing, what would you be doing? Do you think?
Probably not journalism anymore. I was a bit knackered with it, and it's changed. The landscape's changed a lot since in the last sort of 10 years or so. But I think my alternative career in another universe would have been like if I'd found out that Jane Goodall existed before I did my A-levels, then I'd probably be out in a jungle somewhere with some chimpanzees.
I think if in another world, I think I probably would have been something to do with like a detective, police woman or something like that, because I just have a fascination with, that sounds really bad, I have a fascination with crime, like the psychology behind it, and so maybe something to do with psychology or working with the police force or something. That's always really fascinated me.
Question for the audience. So you've heard from the 4 of us so far. In your heads, we'll do a little, put your hands up and vote for a sec. In your heads, which of us do you think is most likely to be a killer in real life? Don't be shy, you've got to vote for one of us. So, if you think Alex, put your hands up now. We'll do a count. Wow. 1. Okay. 1. If you think Andreina,
I'll take
1
that
as
as a
well.
compliment.
This is not looking good for us.
I know.
I should have started this.
Whittling down.
Tiffany?
My own husband.
That's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You're next.
I don't want to be sat next to you. And me? Oh really? Oh, no, that's just me. That's just me. I've probably killed more people than you have in my books, I think.
Yes. I actually counted the other day. I've killed, up until Scrooge, I've killed 14 people.
So I've done 27 books so far. And there's at least definitely.
Yeah. You're related to somebody who wants to blow up an entire planet.
Yeah, but he gets that from his mother's side. You've not met her. So, yeah.
And you've had all these ideas.
Yeah, and so
I
many
think
more.
you're the most suspicious.
I have ideas all the time. Like, how do you find it for those of you who are writers? How many ideas? Do you have writer's block, or have you got loads and you just want to jump on the next one?
I'm not convinced writer's block exists. I've got too many ideas.
Yeah,
That's my problem.
absolutely.
I find writer's block isn't linked to not having ideas.
Yeah.
I've got
It's the
lots of
writing.
ideas ready to pick up and
It's
run
how to
with.
do the idea.
But when writer's block comes in, it's in the middle of the idea you're working on, and it's in developing an idea rather than having an idea.
I agree with that.
It's execution.
Yeah, same. It's the execution.
I'd be interested to get Andreina's take on this, because I once heard someone say the difference between an author and a journalist is journalists don't have writer's block. They have deadlines, and they hit deadlines.
I got blocked massively on this Scrooge about 30,000 words in because something wasn't working with it and I didn't know what. And I couldn't continue because I knew that I was just, making it worse by continuing down a certain route, but I didn't know how to fix it. So I think that's writer's block, and if so, then it does exist.
But did you
Journalists
have
get
it as a journalist?
Well, there was only ever one feature that I couldn't write, and I don't know what it was about it. There was nothing. It was a lovely story. It was a very sad story, but it was Christmassy, funnily enough. But I just could not write the intro to this story because I think maybe I just related too much to the poor woman and nothing I could say could sum it up in a sufficiently heartbreaking way because the situation was a bit awful. And then my editor, because she knew that never happened with me, she just eventually said, "Oh, come here," and she wrote the intro, and then I wrote the rest of it, and it all unblocked. But that's the only time in quite a year-long career of several decades that I actually got blocked as a journalist.
So how did you find out what was wrong with the Scrooge book for you to then move on?
I think the problem was that because I'm a discovery writer, I'm not a big planner, and because I've been so excited about this book and I had this perfect idea in my head about who Scrooge was, what his situation was, and everything. What I realised was wrong with the book is that the victim didn't have enough depth of character, and I started writing chapters from the victim's point of view, because she's still knocking around in ghostly form, and actually they made it into the book in the end, and they because the victim was just, I realised, just being a symbol of something rather than actually being a real person, and it wasn't until I sort of fleshed her out as a real person that other people had a motive to kill her, because she was just a lovely person at the beginning, died, and she was an innocent, and why would you kill an innocent? And obviously there are reasons to kill an innocent, but I couldn't think of any good ones that really sort of clutched at my insides and made me write it. So yeah, it was also a fresh character out and it became unblocked.
Thank you. Right, so we were talking about then writer's block, and we've been talking about ideas. So Alex, what does your process look like? Because the key to writing is there's no one size fits all, right? We all agree, everyone does it differently. So Alex, tell us, what does your process look like from, I guess, the moment of getting an idea to actually submitting it to your editor for their review?
Yeah, lots of extra event planning. You would think, being an accountant who was, let's say, had a reputation for being very obsessively organised and disciplined, a little bit crazy perhaps on that respect. You would think that I would approach my books the same way. I do not. I wish I could. Every time I try and plan, that creativity just disappears and it just feels really flat. So I tend to have maybe the opening line. If I have that opening line, which, like for The Perfect Daughter, is "I lied," that line sets me up for the whole book. And then if I have sometimes the ending, sometimes not, or at least I know how that particular character's journey is going to end. I might not know who the villain is, but I know what vibe I want in the end. And then I just kind of join the dots as I go. I don't write in order, I move chapters, I move paragraphs, I write mostly by hand if I have the time. With deadlines, I have to start the process by hand and then switch and write most of it by computer now. But if I I get stuck, I go back to pen and paper.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And Hannah's looking horrified.
Well, yeah, because then you've got to rewrite it, right?
Yeah, but you can dictate it or you can type it, and that is my first edit.
Wow. And it freaks me out that you write out of order as well.
Yeah,
It freaks me out too.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Tiffany? What's your writing process then?
So my writing process is kind of different to yours.
That doesn't surprise me.
So I get the idea of something. So I get like an idea of something. Like with the Heart Snatcher, it was sort of the serial killer who takes out women's hearts. And I just kind of go into the psychology of it. Like, okay, well, why would someone do that? I kind of deep dive into some dark research to do with psychology and serial killers, and I get loads of different ideas. I pull them together, and I have to write in order. So very different to you. Otherwise I get lost. So sometimes I do kind of go off and I go, oh, I really want to write this scene or this chapter. I'll write it, and then I kind of just put it away in a separate document because I can't have it interfere with the main story. Otherwise I just end up losing my flow. I have to have each scene, each chapter, write it all in order. Otherwise I just have no idea where I am. And then, yeah, that forms the first draft.
My Word document would horrify you.
Probably. I also use Fictionary, so yeah, that's really easy. Fictionary, you can move scenes around and you can see it all there, and it helps you plot it all out. So I'm a massive plotter. I like to have everything planned before I start writing. Always my anxiety can't deal with it.
It is the best way. Out of curiosity, in the audience, plotters versus pantsers, where are we at? Put your hands up if you're a plotter. Excellent, you're the smart people. And if you're a pantser and you don't plot, come on, you've got to get into it.
I'm with Andreina, she's here, you said you're a development writer, is that the term you use?
Discovery writing.
Discovery writing.
Yeah, that's the nicer way of saying pantser.
I am told to that actually, I think that's a really nice little term.
Yeah.
Discovery writing. Discovery writing.
Copyright it quick. Okay.
I nicked off someone else.
Fair. Now, Tiffany, you have a master's degree in creative writing as well. How much has that helped, would you say, honestly?
So I would say it's helped me massively. So I came from film production with script writing. I did that until I was about 23, and then coronavirus hit. I had a bit of a life crisis. I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and then I ended up going back to book writing. But I didn't really know how to write a book. I knew how to write a script. I didn't really know how to write a book. So I then enrolled onto the master's course. So I had a bachelor's in film production, so I was able to get onto the master's in creative writing, and that basically taught me everything I know about book writing. Although story and all that's the same with scripts and books, how you plan it out and what you show and what you don't show with each one is completely different. So I would say the film course helped me. The film course and the writing course helped me massively. But I'd say a huge benefit is actually going to writing festivals. Like you said, meeting up, having a little group of people, a little group of writers who help you. I find that has been the most beneficial thing I've done, is sort of put myself out there, talk to other writers, go to festivals. That's been the most beneficial, I think.
Excellent. Okay, I did a law degree, which is why it took me another 15 or so years to actually figure out I wanted to write books instead. So I deeply regret that, but there we go. Andreina, now you've contributed a short story to a charity anthology that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, that's right.
Tell us about it.
Basically, so Unbound is on the end there. I belong to one of my many author support groups. Was one that I joined. It was called the Debut 20 group, and it was a group of authors who were debuting their books in 2020. So if you are traditionally published, and I don't know, possibly if you self-publish as well, you can find these little very, very niche membership groups online so the D20 authors were just people whose books were coming out in 2020. Mine got moved to 2021, but they didn't kick me out. But we're all like, oh my god, it's our dream come true, and then coronavirus. It was, I think it bonded everybody together a bit more closely. And since then, the group every now and again produces an anthology to raise money for charity. So there's quite a few award-winning authors in there, and authors who've had like real success stories with their books. And we all contributed a short story for this to raise money for Read Easy, which is an adult literacy charity. And I was at the library doing a talk for the Emporium just before Christmas, and they said they have Read Easy reading groups, and it was really nice to know that the money we were raising was kind of helping with that. But it's a ghost story, and basically I think I realised, like, if you read all of my adult crime books, my grown-up crime books rather, adult crime sounds like, 50 Shades of Worry. But if you read all of my adult crime books, so in the 12 Days of Murder, you've got, there's a sort of a ghost story, but you don't really know if it's a ghost. And it's just like a little side plot. In Murder at the Christmas Emporium, there is also there's a haunted automaton that's really creepy and plays music in a deserted shop, and basically there's a ghost story kind of woven in with it. And then I started to write for Unbound. I had this idea about a ghost. A little girl ghost, because they are the creepiest, and the idea about being haunted by a little girl ghost and actually not minding, and that kind of what that story is, it's generally about motherhood and the desperation to be a mother, and it sort of tapped into me trying to have kids when I was before I had my 2 little balls of delight. And just what it would be like to be haunted by a little girl ghost in that situation. So I ended up doing that, and I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, there's ghosts in everything I write. And then I wrote Scrooge, and there's so many ghosts in Scrooge, there's almost more ghosts than people. So I don't know what it is about ghosts. I think I'm very cynical in real life, and I'm quite pragmatic, and I'm not a big believer in lots of stuff, but I think part of me wants to believe stuff. And that's why I kind of live it out in the stories.
Fair. Now, talking of ghostly things, reviews and places like Goodreads. In fact, there was an article in the Bookseller today about negative reviews appearing on Goodreads prior to the books even being available to read, and how bad Goodreads are at removing those reviews, even though it's clearly, this book my editor hasn't even read this book yet. And there's a negative review on Goodreads. Yeah. So my question was to Alex: do you read your reviews? And if so, why? Because that's insane. What do you do to kind of overcome any negative reviews?
I read them less than I used to. The very first book, My Big Daughter, when that came out, I think I drove my boyfriend and probably myself completely insane by the number of times I was refreshing the Amazon page to read the reviews. I could get the most amazing review and be like literally jumping for joy, but the second somebody said something slightly, they didn't get something or they didn't like a character, that was it, I was down for the rest of the day. And he's like, but this is disproportionate, why does that up only last a few minutes but the negative stays with you? So I've learned with each book to kind of take a step back a little bit once it's out there. I didn't even know for the Quiet System that it was on NetGalley, which is where the books go first to get some reviews.
Yeah, that's almost as bad.
I had no idea it was there, and somebody said your book's up, but I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to look.
Don't look at NetGalley.
Yeah, but I've always looked. I've been sitting there, is it up yet? Is it up yet? So I'm learning not to, and I'm learning not to not care what people think, but to be accepting that people are going to love it or hate it, and that's just based on them and their perception, their lives, where they're at, whether it connects with them. You just might not be the right reader. I've forgotten the end of the question. Was there another part?
No, well, it was what you
Have I
do
got
to
that?
overcome
There
negative
we go.
reviews.
Don't look.
My therapist and I spent 2 whole sessions talking about why that one negative review means more than all the good ones. Yeah, we put it down to rejection-sensitive dysphoria. So those who are neurodivergent, look up RSD and it will explain a lot why that's the case. Okay, So let's move on. Are there any other questions from the audience before I continue? Go for it.
I noticed there was a bit of a sort of a downer there with the NetGalley thing. And NetGalley is something that's quite new to me. So I just wondered what's behind that really, and why is NetGalley perhaps not the great thing that it could be.
So NetGalley is, for people who don't know, it is a place where book reviewers, librarians, booksellers, other authors, journalists, anyone who's got an Instagram profile with a couple of books on it can join and get free books and give feedback on those books. And the publishers control how many books they hand out. So if you say, if you, for example, just want to join and get free books, you have to write reviews of those books. So a lot of people just cut and paste reviews. You know, I love the bit where the dog died or something, and you haven't even got a dog in your book. So people will cut and paste old reviews just to keep up, so that the NetGalley can see that they're active reviewers, so that they get permission for more free books. Some people just don't bother to read them and just put something in anyway because NetGalley's nagging them to review it. Obviously, you get some trollish people who really enjoy just slagging off your book for an absolutely no reason whatsoever. They're just weird. And NetGalley doesn't police it very well. So, but on the other hand, there is a correlation between the amount of people that read your book and sales. So, like the more proofs you can get out there, and the more copies that you can distribute via NetGalley, the more of a buzz there will be when your book finally launches. So it's kind of like treading the fine line. But the first book review I read on NetGalley the day my debut came out was calling for me to be cancelled, and I haven't been back and read any of my reviews since. Yeah, it was a bit harsh.
They called them trolls, didn't they?
Yeah.
So you can get a mix. I mean, not to say they're all bad, but you can.
There were some nice ones underneath, but like you say, it
they're
just
not the ones
doesn't
that-
have the same impact.
No.
So, question for you all, and actually for the audience as well again. So, why do we think that crime and thrillers is still such a popular genre amongst readers?
I think it's the intrigue. Certainly for me, from when I'm writing it and reading it, I don't like anything too gruesome, which I know I realise what I write. But I like the untangling the mystery, the how people think, the why do they do that, what drove them to it, and almost what can we learn from it? Whether that's about somebody in your life or something about yourself, I think books are a great way to uncover that.
Tiffany?
Yeah, so sort of similar to you. Obviously mine are quite gruesome. Yeah, the deaths are not pleasant in my books. So I'm just really interested into like psychology, why a killer does what they do. I have so many books and I've seen so many documentaries about like serial killers in real life and what drove them to it, or like how their minds work, and it's been, I'm really fascinated with the sort of the dark side of the mind, and I think a lot of readers are as well. I think it's that taboo of like, why does someone do this? Like, it's just curiosity as well as, like I said, that interest in like the darkness and you can kill people in books. You can't do it in real life.
Well, I mean,
you can.
but you openly say
Frowned upon.
on your website, you openly say you're obsessed with this darkness.
Yeah.
Your husband, what's your name?
Chris.
Chris. Does that worry you, or are you on the same wavelength?
Only slightly now. I've come to live it. I'm okay at the moment.
It's good to
As
get
long as
out
I
of
say the
bed.
right things, I'm okay.
I'll just put it this way, he doesn't argue with me.
But it works.
So in the audience, why do we think? So you're all here, you're wanting to write crime thrillers, you read it, why? What's wrong with you?
It's the same reason why you want to do like the Times crossword, isn't it? Or like a Sudoku. That satisfaction of seeing things fit into place.
They get back, sorry, yeah?
I think it's, especially we have to be good, we have to control, we have to do these things. And we often see people who love to kill. How can you do that? You can't get away with it. And I think when we read serial killers or crime, we can feel things, I don't know, I just find it absolutely fascinating. Things I would love to do in real life. But obviously, because I'm a nice, respectable lady, I don't do it.
Well, that's what you say.
I'm on the same
Can I
wavelength.
change my vote for who's the most likely?
I have a rather different, probably the opposite view, is that maybe subconsciously everyone, well, normal sane people, not sociopaths obviously, have an instinctive desire for justice. And most crime novels are about a quest for justice. Even if it's not delivered at the end.
Yeah?
I actually think about this a lot, and I think I've sort of narrowed down to, I guess, morbid curiosity, at least why lots of people read it more than anything. I'm just curious about what people can do to make you never imagine yourself doing, or if you want to, can't get yourself to because you understand that it's wrong, or that there's, I guess, more practical ways of going around a situation and murdering someone.
It's what you said over there about the fantasizing. I heard recently on a podcast that I think the figures for the percentage of the population that's fantasized about murdering someone is something like 80%.
Yeah. Women,
So-
80%.
Oh.
Yeah. Men are slightly less. Surprisingly.
Yes.
Yeah, you do need to go and re-vote here.
Fair. Okay, right. 5 minutes left. Does anyone have another burning question that they desperately want to ask these brilliant authors? Go for it.
I love really gory, horrible there's an author I started reading who I really loved who ended up self-publishing because she wrote about serial killers and it was too dark for publishers to take on. So how do you is there a line you can't cross?
Well, I self-publish as well, so there's no line I can't cross. And believe me, I cross them all. I'm the same as you. I'm really fascinated with like what people can actually do to other people. I don't know why, and sort of why they think like that. So yeah, I don't have any limits in my book. I just kind of go for it. There is one disturbing thing that I am going to be doing in book 3 that got recommended to me. So watch out for that.
When you say which you're going to be doing,
In my head.
When you say recommended, do you mean someone who's done it?
Well, my sister-in-law, she's an embalmer. I get loads of tips from her. So yeah, watch out.
Okay, so let's finish this off. What are you writing next, or what are you writing at the moment? Start with you, Alex. Yeah.
I think, sorry. So book 5 is currently with my editor, so I'm anxiously waiting on that one. It is set in Christchurch this time. A woman, oh yes, you were there when I was trying to write this one, trying to work out my plot. Who's very helpfully giving me, see the joys of having writer friends to brainstorm randomly at festivals when I'm sitting there going, I want this to happen, but I don't know how. So the gist of this one is that the woman comes home and she expects to find her boyfriend, but instead finds an empty flat. He's taken all his stuff and he's just disappeared. His phone is cut off, but he has taken the one and only photograph that was framed on the wall. And she's a bit, well, why would you take something personal if you just left me, but also why would you just leave me? Because they were in a good place. So that's the mystery. She's trying to find the boyfriend.
I think you're being too generous to me. I think all of the ideas I suggested, you were like, no, but I could do this instead. So
sometimes you need that. Yeah, you need somebody to brainstorm with you. Just
did
mean you
nothing
listen.
for my ego, Alex.
Sorry.
Andreina, go for it. What's next?
Okay, so Scrooge is off being edited at the moment, and so I've just did the first copy edit, so there's the second copy edit's coming back mid-July. I also, because I started out writing YA, so I've got a few YA stories I'm going to tinker around with. I also am going to start setting up my author newsletter, and I'm writing some short stories to give away, to incentivize people to give me their email address so I can plague them. So that's my next step. And yes, I will be Scrooging for a while, but I'm also hoping to do some YAs as well as change of pace.
Okay.
So next for me is, like I said, the second book in the Heart Snatcher series. So it's going to be the Snatcher series. The second book is called The Soul Snatcher. The serial killer takes out people's eyes. So each one is going to be something dark and sinister that the killer does. Sort of mutilates the body. So and then I'm also working on the third book at the moment, which is Copycat Killer of the first book. And it features the same detective in it, Detective Ethan Brown, and his crime-solving partner, stroke lover, Riley Darlington, and then it's going to be the co-books sort of solving crimes together. So that's my next work in the machine.
Excellent. And I mean, I lose track of books. Genuinely, when a new book comes out, I'm like, I don't even remember the name of the characters because I've already 2 books ahead. So my next book that's out is called. What's it called? It's called The Tenants, and it is not the unauthorised biography of the former Doctor Who, but it's about an agoraphobic landlady who. Her sole purpose is to please her tenants that she lives in this building with. Because of her agoraphobia, she can't go out. But she does sneak behind the walls and listens in to make sure that they've all got what they want, and then one of them is murdered. So it's kind of a locked room thing, there's lots going on, and it's, according to my agent and my editor, it's the best thing after this one. So this was really, really good, and this is a step up to that. So, yeah. All right. Last chance for any questions. Anything burning, or we'll call it an end. I think. We good? Excellent. Well, please give my authors a huge round of applause. Thank you for your contributions as well.
Thank you for being a fantastic.